All right, let's get this car going and this podcast underway. I'm here with the fantabulous Piper. Say hi.
Hi.
So today we are doing a drive and talk, aka Michael drive. Piper does most of the talking because Michael talked a lot last episode. But a drive and talk.
Drive and talk. Drive and talk.
We have our own theme song now.
I make theme songs for everything.
Interesting. Okay. So, well, is there a theme song for River's Edge?
Come back to me on that. I don't know. I haven't thought about that.
Man.
Sorry. You got me on the spot. I don't know.
You know, sometimes that's the best way to handle things, is on the spot. So, one thing we're going to talk about is I want to ask you a couple of questions.
Ugh, I'm usually the one asking questions.
Yeah, I know you're a journalist and you're used to asking the questions, but I'm going to be asking the questions this time. So,
all right. I guess I'll allow it.
Okay, so first off, what is your role on River's Edge?
I am a writer and the assistant director.
Awesome. Great. I knew that.
Yes, you did.
So, next question here is, where did the concept of River's Edge start and come from? And I think we should tell the origin story of how it started and how it came to be at one fateful day in August of 2021.
You know what? It's awful when people ask me this because I don't I remember, but I don't remember.
You don't fully remember. You remember like small details.
Yeah, at this point, it was 3 years ago.
Wow.
So much has happened since then in life. So, but yeah, 2021. I think we were on a phone call.
Yep.
And me being me, I was like, I want to write something because, like you said, I'm a journalist and one of my passions is writing.
Which you're very good at, by the way.
Oh, stop it.
I'm just saying the facts.
You might be a little bit biased, but thank you. But yeah, I obviously write for a living, but it's not as creative as one would think. And it's a whole different kind of writing when you're reporting on something versus making something up.
When you're you're reporting on something versus creating your own world.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I've been doing so much reporting and I just want to write something else.
Yeah.
So you clearly must have enabled me.
We're screwed now, guys.
And I don't know, I guess we just got to work on it.
Yeah, what I remember from that night was, it, like you said, it started out with you being like, I want to write something. And you started kind of coming up with a story. And I was like, what if this was a film? Mm-hmm. And then we kind of branched off from there. And instead of a film, we made it into like a series. So we made it into like a TV show series, which we had that idea. And actually we went with it for a while. It was a solid, few months we were wanting to do that. And then we were like, no, let's not do that. Yeah. So that changed. And then we were writing this for a while, and we were going to do it in a film, I think, in spring or summer of 2022 originally. Yeah. But I was graduating college, you were still in college, and really busy, and I was doing capstone.
Yeah, I also sorry, I'm trying to think about the timeline of my life at the moment.
You were end of your junior year, in spring of 22.
I had gotten surgery.
Oh, yeah.
So I was still also dealing with my health on the side.
Yeah, that was obviously important.
And yeah, we were both in school, doing our things.
A lot to think about at one time, let alone making an entire movie as well. That's and honestly, I'm glad that we waited until we did, because we only had like a 40-something scene script at that point, and now we had a 78 scene script. It almost doubled.
Truly, if we had done it back then, it would not have gone as well as it is going.
Oh yeah, it would not have been nearly as good. The story wouldn't have been as complete.
And we wouldn't have had the people on our crew, probably.
Oh no, it would have been completely different. It would be a lot smaller of a crew, and we wouldn't have had as many resources and funds and that kind of stuff. So it's a real blessing in disguise, in a manner of speaking, because we... I don't know, some things are worth waiting for.
Yeah.
And this has definitely been one in the very end. So let's go through each character.
Oh, goodness.
Let's go through each character and kind of just like talk about them and their how we created their characters. What parts of us are in other characters? What is important to us about the characters? So I mean, let's start minor, then go to major. Let's start with Doug.
You know, I really don't know where Doug came from because he's not like anyone we have in our lives. Like, we don't come from...
He's not representative of our lives and our experiences at all.
Like, we're not over here with major family and daddy issues or anything.
Absolutely not. And that's one thing I think that we were both thinking when we were writing this is like, I really hope our families don't think this is how we perceive them.
And like, also one of the things I was thinking about was because we don't have that personal experience, I don't want to mess it up trying to portray it.
You don't want to write it incorrectly and have people who did experience it feel unsatisfied.
Yeah, exactly.
And offended.
Exactly.
So.
But yeah, I'm not really sure where Doug came from.
I think we wanted to have some sort of challenge for the other characters.
Yeah.
And a main challenge, especially in teenage years, that I've heard of people experiencing is having issues at home and having an unhappy family in a way.
Yeah.
So I think that we really tried to incorporate that because that's all he really has around him. He has his dad, his sister, school, and Riley. That's all Cash has. So you have to have some sort of in those four things. You have to have some sort of complication or challenge from him.
Yeah, totally.
For him to experience. So I think that's where Doug came from. He was just kind of meant to be an asshole and to be that challenge. But
I think we made like the classic grew up in the 70s kind of dad.
Yeah.
Where, you know, a lot of people from that generation, having grown up in that generation, don't really know how to express their feelings because they were never taught to. And it
wasn't as widely accepted to be able to express your feelings.
And so they easily shape into the kind of people that their parents were. Because it takes a lot to break those cycles.
Absolutely. So, and it's interesting because, again, Doug is nothing like anything I've seen in my life.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to see that kind of person actually being portrayed. It's like I'm actually like mad at Doug the character just for existing.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? Like,
it's really funny because we literally made him and we are like, go away.
Yeah. So it's been interesting from the get-go with Doug because, again, we've hated him so much.
Yeah.
But he's a very crucial part to the story.
Totally.
So let's go from Doug and pivot outside of the family to Riley. Riley.
He's like classic boy next door kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because we didn't really give him any backstory or like issues to really deal with that are personal to him.
Yeah.
A lot of the issues that he deals with in the film are related to Cash and Hadley. And obviously he's close to that because he is best friends with them and cares for them really deeply.
Yeah.
But yeah, Riley is like classic boy next door, has the perfect family, the perfect hat, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see the contrast between Riley and Cash and Hadley because, again, he's got a really, really good life kind of like set up for him, and then you have Cash and Hadley who are kind of, well, Cash especially kind of like struggling, and Cash and Riley, when it comes to their comparisons, Cash is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to happy family, having the resources, happy attitude. Cash is always in a like crappy mood and all that kind of stuff. And then you have Riley, who's kind of like the
he's there to pick you up.
He's the stable person.
Yeah.
And then also they're both guys, so it's completely. It's really interesting to me to see the mood changes and the mood differences between the two of them when they're around the same age, going through some of the same things, but also going through completely different things at the same time.
Yeah, it's, with Cash and Riley, it was interesting to explore the family dynamics a bit, and then, from the family dynamics, you can see how these two people came to be.
Absolutely.
And for whatever reason, they connect and are really important to each other, which is really interesting.
And they've been friends for years too. That's a big part of the backstory. Is all three of these guys have known each other for so long, and again, Riley knows how Hadley and Cash work, and Cash and Hadley know how Riley works. And it's
he's
really
almost like an unofficial third sibling at this point.
Literally, yeah.
Actually, no, that's kind of weird to say because. I'm sorry, I didn't know what I could or couldn't say.
I mean, you can say it if you want. This is just going to be airing like a week from now.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I felt really weird after saying he was the third unofficial sibling because then I remembered.
Let's just say shit goes down, guys.
Shit goes down.
But no, we have also, when you're thinking about Riley is, I was going to say something, I don't remember what it was. It was Riley and Cash. Sorry, off-topic driving thing. Punch buggy black, no punch back, way back there.
What?
You were in the middle of a sentence. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I didn't even see it.
Well, I did. Anyway, continuing. Let's go to Hadley.
Hadley.
We love Hadley. Hadley is amazing.
I don't really know at this point if it was intentional or not, but I feel like I put a lot of myself in Hadley.
And that's one thing that you learn, though, is when you're writing characters, especially ones that are based a little off of you don't realize it until after. Because Hadley, you are so like Hadley.
She has qualities on the surface, but also deep within her that I share with her.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, and again, I don't know if I did that intentionally or not.
I think it was a subliminal thing.
But on the surface, she's a bookworm. She strives to do well in school. She is kind of always working to be the golden child, if you will. And
but half the time she doesn't have to work.
Half the time she doesn't have to work for it. I don't know if I share that with her. But hashtag middle child problems. And then, on the inside, she doesn't want to disappoint people. She is constantly trying to figure out ways to fix unfortunate situations. And I feel like those are qualities I share with her.
She's very, like you said, selfless and really cares about other people a lot. In a sense, like you said, she wants to try to fix other people's problems.
Yeah.
Do that for Cash, and I think there's even a scene where I can say this. I'm fine with saying this. Is that Riley literally tells her, hey, you can't fix all of other people's problems for them because they have to learn to stand up for themselves and be able to be their own individual person, which is a completely valid and understandable message. Where I think that also. I think a little bit of me is in Hadley because you and I are similar because we were especially both very selfless people and always wanting to help other people out and fix other people's problems. But again, we took the time to learn where it's not all our responsibility.
You get to a certain point where you realize you are just as important as other people.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, in your life, you're more important because you're the only one that you can control your life with.
Yeah, totally. So
Hadley is a really important character to us.
Yeah.
Especially to you, but yeah.
And it's really fun also because she's portrayed by somebody I went to high school with. We went to high school with, but she was in my class.
Yeah. And she does such a great
she's
job.
So great.
Well,
it's so funny.
As soon as I found out she was interested in this, and before she even, I think we talked about this, before Cora even sent her audition in.
Yeah.
We were like she would be a perfect fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, she and the other actors have been such great people to work with, and so fun and so understanding of the fact that a lot of us are first time big filmmakers, so they've been working with us from the very beginning, so I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, totally. But it's especially special with Cora because she kind of
sees that part of it.
Yeah, and she has been a part of our lives for a long time.
Yeah, we've known her for what, 6, 7, 10
since
10
high
years
school,
now?
And we're in our
10
early
years
to
now.
mid
Holy
20s
crap.
now. But yeah, so it's
we're old.
No, we're not.
I just realized it's been 10 years since I went to high school.
It's just so interesting thinking about the fact that we went to high school with her, and now here we are almost a decade later, and we have made a movie, and she is portraying one of the most important characters in it.
Absolutely. It's like a full circle moment.
Yeah.
But that I know for a fact that obviously this movie's not out yet, so the circle hasn't closed yet.
Not just yet, but once we get to sit in that screening, sit there and just kind of enjoy the fact that she is that character that you are so much of, it's going to be 10 times more meaningful. And I guarantee after the first screening there will be a lot of emotions and a lot of thank you again times a million texts to everybody, because it's going to mean so much to us. But yeah, Hadley's one of the best. Yeah.
Shall I move on to Cash?
Cash is you. You are Cash.
Cash is so much like me that I'm gladly willing to admit the fact that I was really emotional when we wrapped filming and I saw Cash be done. I felt like garbage because I was like, I want Cash to have more.
Yeah.
I can't say much without spoiling anything, but I want Cash to exist for a longer period in my life because he's so meaningful to me. He's so much like me. His what he experiences and what he goes through, a lot of it is similar to stuff that I've experienced when it comes to being having anxious moments and stuff that happens. I mean, there's a lot of that for some of the characters especially, but totally. There's a lot of anxiety in Cash because he doesn't know his future, and I struggled with that for a long time, even through college and even out of college. I was like, what am I, you can testify to this, I genuinely had no clue what the next step in my life was.
Yeah, that's a hard thing for a kid to figure out.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the driving forces in this film, is what is next.
Absolutely. It's what is next? Because you have, I can't say it well. I'm trying to figure out what I can say, what I can't say. You have these three main characters whose paths are completely different, and their paths are predetermined in a way when you get into the film.
Yeah, somehow they're walking their paths together.
Exactly.
It's a really interesting idea.
And it's really important to them because they're so well connected, and they've been friends for so long, and obviously the two of them are siblings. It's really important, and not just siblings, twin siblings.
Yeah.
So that's an even more important connection for them.
I am not a twin. I am not going to pretend like I know what the twin connection really means, but I am aware of how special and strong that is. Yeah,
my mom is a twin, and I know from hearing from her and my aunt's experience that there's a lot of an important connection there, and it's the most meaningful connection you can have.
Yeah.
It's like a built-in best friend, a built-in, like, everything for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's one reason why we decided to do twins, because we wanted to show that they were really close to each other. And not all twins are close to each other, which is understandable, but
but these ones are.
These ones definitely are. And going back to Cash in particular for a sec, he is scared that once everyone does choose their path, that it's going to draw them apart. Because he obviously he loves Riley because he's like best friend, and he loves Hadley because she's the twin sister. Like there's a huge connection there, and he's scared of losing that just because people are going their own ways in their future.
Yeah.
But it's again part of the challenge of the film is what is next for them.
Yeah.
And how do they figure it out? So that's the big thing with Cash, is he's impacted the most by that. And I'm trying to really... I'm repeating things because I'm really trying to think of what I can say, what I can't say.
Yeah.
Because Cash is like all the characters are important, but Cash is the one that's going through the most.
Yeah.
So we see a lot more from his perspective than the other characters. But it's important what the other characters are going through as well. So you have to pay attention to them and not just Cash. What do we... anything else we want to talk about Cash? Do you want to add anything about Cash? I feel like I'm the one who talked about Cash.
Well, I mean, Cash is... Like I said, he has a lot of your qualities, so I feel like you're probably the most knowledgeable about Cash. But,
he does like film and photography like I do. He's got that kind of like comedy like I do, the sense of humor of me.
And he even uses your personal camera in the film.
He does, yes.
So.
That's called low budget.
But, no, I have... Just like I have a special place in my heart for Hadley, I have a special place in my heart for Cash. But it's not exactly the same because, like I said, I share a lot of qualities with Hadley. Mm-hmm. But I don't share a whole lot of qualities with Cash, but I love Cash because I love you.
Yeah. Well, I love you too, thank you.
I mean, that's not the only reason I love Cash, but that's a big reason I love Cash.
Yeah. Yeah, and Cash is like... I could go on a whole tirade about Cash, but I would go in loops and circles because I can't say much.
Yeah.
But there's so much just about Cash that he's actually helped me. Yeah. In a way. Kind of like be okay, Crow is in the middle of the road and not moving. He's helped me kind of like be more confident in who I am, because again, I've always been this kind of like not super confident guy, and you are stupid. But
he's not saying that to himself. He's saying that to
I'm talking to someone who just cut me off. I've always not been a super confident person, but once I saw kind of Cash written down and seeing how he is and how similar he is to me and how just fun of a character he is, it made me feel better about myself, because I know it took me a while to realize it, but I do share so many qualities with Cash. So him being able to just kind of express himself and be himself, and just seeing how he is in the script, and like once we actually got it like acted out and we're in an editing situation now, it makes me feel better about myself, which is actually unintentional but awesome. I do appreciate it. So
I think
that's nice.
I think whether we realize it or not, writing these characters, specifically Cash and Hadley, helped us evolve as people. Because no matter what the situation was that they were going through, the point is that the emotions are what you're supposed to be able to relate to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And writing these characters, writing what they're going through, I think, at least for me, helped me deal with some of the emotions I feel in life.
Yeah. And when we were writing this, we were going through a lot. We were going through the figuring out our own stuff and figuring out what our future is and that stuff. So we were able to actually, like, somewhat accurate, well, mostly accurately, pretty much exactly accurately, interpret how the stuff that we were going through kind of relates to what they're going through. And again, a lot of it is just because, like, we were going through the figuring out our future part. We were going through the what's next or going to college and that kind of stuff. We were going through all of that, so we were properly able to write it down and express it on paper in that moment, which is awesome. And I'm really glad we were able to do that, because I'm glad that we're doing it at that point in our lives, as opposed to, like, 15 years from now trying to remember exactly how that was. It wouldn't be as good of a story.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be as meaningful to us. So it's going to be, once this is done, it's going to be so much more meaningful, because it's going to be like, yeah, we experienced that, but we made it through that. And also we made this movie because of that. So it's going to feel so much more satisfying to us once it's done, I think.
In a way, it's like a time capsule.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I want to take another moment to just express how incredible of a job all of our actors did, like, acting as these characters and becoming these characters and putting these characters into real life, because I have said this a million times, I wouldn't change a thing.
No, I wouldn't.
I mean, Isaiah plays Cash perfectly, and also I try to get along with everyone well, and I do get along with everyone well, but he and I especially get along very, very well.
Yeah.
We're very similar, which is also perfect, because Cash and I are similar, which then in turn makes Isaiah and Cash very similar, so it makes it so much easier for him to play the role.
Yeah.
Cora, oh my gosh, she did an amazing job with Hadley, like we were talking about, but she knows how to represent Hadley properly.
Yeah.
And I think immediately, as soon as we kind of gave her, like, the character most in the description, she felt like she knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
our first conversation, I think we had a Zoom call with her, just like a quick conversation with her,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "Yeah, She went on for like 10 minutes, which I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
She went on for like 10 minutes about how she related to the character, how she liked the character, how she felt the character was. And it really impressed me right off the bat. I'm like, okay, she hasn't sent in like an audition tape or anything yet, but I know she's right for it.
Yeah.
Jared was our last actor to be cast, because we had a hard time finding a Riley.
Yeah, we did.
But he
is Riley.
He did such a great job with Riley, and I'm so glad that we were able to get him, because I don't know, I didn't really have a specific vision for Riley, but once I saw Jared as Riley, I was like, yes, that's Riley.
I was like, okay, this is like the kind of person Riley is, but I don't really know what that looks like.
Yeah.
So, I think it was a little harder to cast him, but I can't imagine anybody else.
No, I can't. I think that Jared did such a great job, especially first off committing on such like late time frame.
That was
like
crazy.
I was so glad that we were able to make things work, because I mean, scheduling is tough with everybody, because it's a matter of getting everyone in the same place at the same time, being able to coordinate. This person's here for this scene and this person's here for this scene.
Yeah.
But he worked so well with us, and I appreciate everyone's flexibility, but Jared especially since it was like it was within a month before we started filming that we cast him.
Yeah, it was really quick.
We had already had dates figured out and scheduled and everything. We just had to move around the scenes based on his availability and stuff, which it worked out perfectly fine. And and then David played Doug, and holy shit.
I love that man.
He's
nothing like his character.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's hilarious.
He's like one of the nicest people in the world, and Doug is one of the most asshole-ish people in the world. And I cannot imagine.
Look, there's my car.
I cannot imagine a nice person playing that much of a character who's an asshole. But David did such a great job acting that at the end of the scene, I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, he's like a crazy nice guy. Why?
Yeah, you know what? We had a barbecue, a full cast and crew barbecue at Michael's parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
And David and his wife came. And I had a really fun conversation with his wife, and she had told me that David came out of acting retirement, if you will, for our film.
Yeah, it had been like I think it was a solid 25 years or something since he did like acting.
And she was like, he doesn't just say yes to anything.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, wow.
And my dad knows David pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was like, yeah, David said, like when I first reached out to David about doing this, he was like looking through the script and everything. My dad said that David will tell you if he doesn't like something.
Yeah.
And he said that he really liked our script, which first off was a shock to me since I'd never written like a big script before.
Yeah.
Or a script before.
Yeah.
So I was like, are you like joking? Are you just trying to get a laugh out of me? Like, no, he's like, David genuinely liked your script. And I was like so happy when I heard that because it made me feel like, okay, this guy who knows what he's doing, has been in acting world for a while, likes our script.
And he's coming out of his acting retirement to
I didn't know that at the time.
that. Yeah.
But no, I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
So I was just like, that's awesome. I'm so glad that he's
it was really
wanting
cool.
to work with us because it just makes me feel so much better about this film and this project. And
Totally.
so when it comes to that, that's awesome.
Not to toot our own horns, but, you know, our actors said that they really thought we did a wonderful job with writing. And that made me feel really great because I am not a filmmaker. Like, you at least are a filmmaker. You know how these things work.
Yeah.
But I am not a filmmaker. I've never written anything.
No, and I haven't written a lot. I haven't written a lot, especially in this format before either, because I typically am not the writer of my like film friend group.
Yeah.
That's more of a Dylan thing.
Yeah.
But once we had this film and we were like, hey, we're gonna write this, I was like, well, we're committing to it, and we did it. And from there, the fact that people were saying that they liked our writing and they really believed in the film and everything, that made us feel really good because it was hard for us to believe in ourselves because we were not confident in the fact that we like had done this before. We hadn't. But when other people are like, hey, this is really good, it means 10 times more.
Yeah.
So the fact that we heard that from all of our actors and cast and crew as well, it made us feel 10 times better about this project as a whole. So that was, I don't know, that was really like kind of like an emotion hitting thing once I heard that. And then I was about to say something I can't say.
What?
Huh?
What were you going to say?
I can't tell you while we're recording.
You're literally the only one that's going to listen to this at first when you record it.
I know, but I don't know, it just feels awesome, and I'm thankful for everyone again, because I mean, this was more about writing and the characters themselves, but it always ends up in how did it result. And it resulted so far in a really, really good final product that we're going to be super proud of. Anything else you want to add before we log off?
I don't know.
About the writing process. Well, oh, wait. One more question. What was the most challenging part of the writing process? Me bugging you about, hey, let's write more scenes.
Yeah, oh my God. Leave me alone.
I have these things where once I'm into writing, I get into it. And I get like a million ideas. But then she gets tired of listening to my mouth blab, blab, blabbing on.
I don't get tired of it. I wish I could devote more time to writing. It's just there are so many other things in life then and in life now that get in the way.
But it's challenging because like you'll get so many places and you'll have all these scenes in your mind and you'll write them down, and then after you've done a few, you're just like, you hit a brick wall, you're stuck. You can't do anything. Like,
the most challenging part the ending.
Oh, we went through like 6 different iterations.
And the fact that we worked on the script for like 3 years.
Yeah. So there are things that at the end of it, as we were doing pre-production at the end of it, that we completely were like, why the hell did we write this down at the very beginning, and vice versa?
We rewrote the script a few times at the end.
Oh, I know we had like at least 18 drafts. 18 different drafts.
Goodness.
Which is fine. I know the scripts do go through a lot of drafts and stuff, and that's understandable. But 18 feels like a lot.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, we just like could not figure out how it ended.
Because we want it to be a good ending, and we wanted to get like a full rounded ending for the characters and for each of them to have like kind of closure and that kind of stuff. But you also kind of want to leave people on a mystery. You want to leave people like, okay, how do you think this character ends up?
Like, the big thing is that you don't know how things end. The thing with this film is that I wanted it to imitate real life as much as possible.
Yeah.
And in real life, you don't always know how things are going to end.
Yeah. And that's the challenging part about writing this. So yes, you don't know how things are going to end, but we have to know so that we can set other people up to not know.
I guess.
That's the thing.
Guess.
We had to have an idea of how this is all going to really end for each character regardless, because from there, we have to lead the viewer to not know.
Yeah.
We have to get them on the right track to not know so they can kind of push towards what it really is.
Yeah.
So that was the hard part.
But what's fun is that sometimes it's up to the imagination.
Yeah.
And whether you see it on the screen or not, a cinematic universe does continue on.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about it in that way, though, because it's like, no, the universe in which it exists is only from what you see on screen. That's how a lot of people perceive it.
But it's not. You created an entire world with these people.
Mm-hmm.
They have a backstory that you didn't see on screen, but you know they have a backstory.
Yeah.
So in that same sense, they have a future, whether you see it or not.
Yeah. It's just hard to get into the mindset of that.
I know.
But once you're in that mindset, it's like, oh my God, what happens to this person? What's this person
I know.
do? You go into a whole mind like game with yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a challenging aspect of it is figuring out how to end things off.
Yeah.
Just like it's challenging to figure out ways to end a podcast episode. Like, anything else you want to mention before we log off? This has been the longest episode we've done so far.
I don't think so.
We could do a whole part 5 with you.
I know. We should do one where we talk about how it was on set.
Oh yeah,
That'd
we can do
fun.
another episode of that at some point. That'd be fun. Or on the way back.
That'd be fun.
No, because on set was
a whole different ballgame.
Oh my God, that was amazing yet terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I said this in the last episode. It was one of the most stressful, fun, chaotic, amazing, terrifying experiences of my life, and it was one of the best experiences of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the most anxiety-inducing experience of my life.
All I have to say is food poisoning and scene 9.5.
Oh, and 22. You weren't there for that.
Ugh, boo.
22. But we'll get more into that later on. But thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
We'll talk again soon, very soon. And we'll see you next episode on Uncropped with another special guest. Goodbye.